Okay, and now it's time to talk about presence and responsibility. So, with a deeper awareness of what's happening within you, now that you've done some work to do a lot more paying attention to what's happening inside, you can be more present for the world around you. So, understanding these concepts in this section will help you take more control of your life and really create more peace by being more present and really creating a deeper connection to your higher consciousness and your higher awareness. So, some things to understand here is that your life is fully your responsibility. You're the only one that is responsible for your happiness. And really, that is a really good thing because to know if you had to depend on other people for this, for you to be happy, that would be a really tough thing to have to depend on and rely on other people. But you might find that that's what you've been doing so far, which is why you're struggling because you're depending on someone or something else to create your happiness when really it is only inside you. You're the only one in control. You can take control and you can create this on your own. You always get to decide how you want to feel. So as you move forward into this awareness and creating more presence with yourself, you'll start to understand, you'll start to see what activates you more than others. And when you see it arising, you'll be able to control it more than you have in the past. So instead of just letting your actions run away with you based on what you're feeling, you can actually question the feeling that you have. Say, is this the way that I want to feel right now? And if not, you can change it and you can decide to either think in different ways or approach the situation in a way that makes you feel more peaceful, but you get to decide that. It's really important also to just be really open minded to changes and just the general fluidity of life because it makes everything so much easier. Life is constantly changing and evolving. Nothing ever, ever, ever stays the same. There is a continuous life, death, life cycle that happens around us all the time. So, as long as you know this and you recognize this and you're almost expecting changes and you're expecting things to be different, you can be more open-minded and ready for these things to happen. And when I say ready, I don't mean like be prepared for everything that happens and to try to have all these things to prep, but just like you'll be more emotionally and mentally stable and okay for when things arise, it won't throw you off balance like perhaps it has in the past. And now that you're connected a little bit more with your life force energy that we've talked about in the last module or a couple modules ago, now you can pay attention to the energy in different environments, right? You can pay attention to what feels bright and light versus what feels dark and negative and heavy. You'll be able to start paying attention to these things, to these environments, or to even people that you're around that give you this sense of giving you energy versus taking it away. Follow the feelings of light, right? Try to remove yourself from the darkness. You can also pay attention to the energy around you and like notice the magnetism that there is an invisible magnetic energy that does exist around us at all times, right? So if you pay attention to it, you'll also notice this, and it kind of goes similar to the light and the dark. But you might find that sometimes you walk into a building and all of a sudden you just feel really heavy and terrible and you don't want to be there. That's something that's an energy and a magnetism that's repelling you from this place because it's not in the same vibrational plane as you are. Also, you might get around certain people where you've never met them before, but you just feel magnetically drawn to them and like you want to talk to them and get to know them more. So pay attention to all of these things, and really what these are is true signals of what to move forward to and what to stay away from. So absolutely pay attention to this and feel free to set boundaries against any of this negative energy or this repelling, anti-magnetic whatever force that is, making you feel like you really don't want to be there. You don't have to know why. You don't have to know exactly logically what's going on to make you feel that way. You can just trust it and just set your boundary with it and disconnect yourself from that situation or from that person as soon as you can, because it will just drain your energy. So you can also, now that you practice being more aware of yourself, you can go deeper into your presence over and in really any given moment, right? So you have to practice kind of a stillness and try to get your mind to stop wandering off to all kinds of different places when you're around people. So especially in kind of dull and mundane moments too, this can be a great time, like when you're by yourself and you're just sitting there, maybe you're, tying your shoe or you're bored and nobody's around you, but to really just start paying attention, start hearing sounds that might be going on around you that you didn't notice before, or really look at an object for what it actually is, or look at nature, look at the trees or flowers or the grass, and just really like pay attention to it, give it real true attention and presence, and just notice what happens there when you start to do that, because you'll get this feeling that will feel really good, and you'll feel just much more connected to nature and to just your general life force energy there, right? So definitely bring your attention into what's happening right now as much as you possibly can, because here's the thing. So many times we are either rehashing the past and we're ruminating on something that happened, either a situation with somebody or something that we did that we are regretting, or we're thinking about all these memories and maybe we're feeling sad for a time that used to exist that isn't here anymore, and you're thinking about the past, or you're thinking a lot about the future and you're worried maybe about, what's going to happen in the future, or you're always planning for the future. You're planning for trips, or you're trying to determine, in a future conversation you want to have, all the different ways that it might go. And maybe you're worrying about that. You're worrying about, so many things all the time that are going to be happening in the future, but very few moments are spent thinking about right now. So, like if you have kids, for example, because this is kind of a great example, but you love them and you care for them and you kind of worry for their future. Perhaps you worry about, what they're going to end up growing up to be. You want to make sure they grow to be, kind, good, productive people in this world. But then in the meantime, how much time are you actually giving them right now in this moment to be who they are, right? And how much time are you spending where you're not distracted by something else, by either, technology is a huge distraction for all of us, and it's hard to stay present in the moment. So you see a lot of families that go out to dinner and everybody is on their phone, or doing anything, and the phone is just in your hand, always looking. And you might see kids constantly begging for their parents' attention because they're never actually getting that present attention. They're not, our patience is thin for sure, because we have all these distractions as well and all these priorities coming on. So your kids might feel like, and I'm not saying specifically your kids, right? But just in general, kids may feel like they're not getting the attention that possibly they require right now, as they're learning how to be humans, as they're learning how to become grown adults. And so all it's showing them, if they're not getting the attention and they're seeing everybody else distracted, it's just showing them that they should do the same, right? And this is really, really, really important for not just you, but for the entire society, the world as a whole, because right, we're filled with distractions all the time, and we're always waiting for the next hit. Like, what is the next new exciting thing? What's the next new invention that's going to make my life easier? What's going to be more fun? What's the next new Netflix show that everybody's watching that I need to binge? What's next? What's coming up? Whatever. We're always looking for something, because we can't sit. It's so hard to sit for even 5 minutes in quiet without feeling bored if we're not doing something or fidgeting with something or watching something. And we're missing life. Like, we are really missing what is happening right now in our life. And this is the only place where joy is found. You're never going to find joy and happiness in the future if you can't access it now. Like, you have to be able to do that, because you're always going to be looking for it, but it'll never arise because it's not in the future, right? And yeah, the answer will never be in the next new invention or the next new advancement or the next thing that they come up with, right? And so then what happens is our younger generations, as they are learning and seeing from us to disconnect more and more and to depend on things to make us happy, and we're finding that it's not making us happy, right? It's creating more depression. It's creating more, things like self-harm and suicide and aggression toward others with school shootings and other mass shootings and things like that. We're seeing it happen already. What happens when that human connection and that presence is lost? So the more and more and more that we do this and our younger generation sees to do it, the more that human connection is suffering, and there are just going to be there's going to continue to be deep consequences. And when I talk about this with some people too, I just kind of want to bring this up because everybody kind of says, well, eventually we'll have to get to a point like that this isn't happening anymore, right? It'll have to correct itself. But it starts doing that now. It starts doing that by you taking control of what you're doing and not allowing these distractions to come in, to set boundaries with yourself. Set boundaries with what you're doing so that you can be more present and that you can show other people how to do the same, so that we can start healing as a society and not needing and depending on these things to try to make us happy when they are absolutely not making us happy, right? We cannot ignore that we individually, all of us, are a part of the problem that exists right now. So that is why I see this as a really, really, really important topic. Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorite authors, spiritual teachers, but this quote I just love. I think of it all the time. But when you're thinking of the past and the future, nothing has ever happened in the past. It happened in the now, and nothing will ever happen in the future. It will happen in the now. So this is literally the only moment that you have access to is right now. And there really is so much power in that. So recognize that, begin to embody it, and you'll start to definitely see the deep inner truth of all of that as well. So again, no worksheets for this section, and come into the community, talk about how you're feeling. Again, these can be some kind of deep, heavy topics. So come in and start a discussion, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. All right, I'll see you in the next video, which is the last video of this module, and we will be talking about releasing attachment. So I will see you there.